Good evening, folks. Welcome to another working week. We are here with some more hobby nightmares to get you through the week and to hopefully put a smile on your face. For the first time in a little while, I've not read any of these. I've skimmed them to make sure that they are appropriate and that we've, I've tidied a few of them up, but I've not read through them to any extent. If you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all that fun stuff. And of course, Patreon is down below, and so is a link to subscribe to the channel in the proper way by being a member, if you want to. We are doing a prize draw at the end of, should be this week, so Sunday the 28th, we'll be doing a prize draw. Can't wait for that. I might do it on Saturday night, because I'm off out on Sunday evening. So, yeah, if you want to get involved in that, there are two chances to win £50 worth of models from Composite Games. I am about to get an order in from Composite Games for the the prizes from the last draw. That'll be sent out to people. I don't care where you are in the world. You could be anywhere. I will get them to you, all of your prizes to you. So it's two chances to win £50 worth of models if you become a patron at any level or a channel member at any level, and you'll be involved in the prize draw coming up on Sunday. So let's get some things on the go here for our hobby nightmares. We got quite a few sent to us, three of which are rather large, so I might not go over them today. One of them I really wanted to actually touch on, and that is from somebody called Tom, who sent me a rather lovely, brilliantly worded email. Really good vocab. And I'll just get into it, shall I? So, Tom says, "Hi Northern." Hello, Tom. He says, "My name is Tom, and I hail from sunny Scotland. I guess I'm a bit of a Chad and a normie when it comes to our hobby." Okay. Fucking slapping yourself on the back there a little bit. Okay, well, I like it. Recon, I've been smashing, I have a smashing topic that may perk some ears for your listeners. So let's get started. Independent gaming and hobby stores. How you would start and operate one. I'm currently in the process of drawing up a business plan and evaluating the feasibility of such a venture. I must point out that although I do have a love for the hobby, I need to ensure that it becomes profitable to the point of employing staff and not working 24 hours a day just to turn minimum wage once up and running. Okay, cool. Alrighty. There are local stores, 2 independent and 1 GW in my area, although both 15 to 20 miles away and not in the town. Okay. 1 independent has a lovely guy running it who has built the community to a point where he is not so much making money from retail sales, but from rental of gaming space and store events. My first thought was, do I approach this gent and discuss the possibility of a partnership? He has been open about about a year, sorry. He has a rather sad-looking retail space, and in my eyes, a retail space that does not capture the minds and wallets of gamers and our grandkids walking past the shop window with their gran en route to the bus is a bad thing. Yep, okay. I see his weakness and recognise them to be my strengths, and his strengths where my own weaknesses lie. And I'm very much wondering whether a partnership in his business with kind of a cash injection and an owner with more of a retail concentration could make something great, or do I run against the grain and do my own thing? There is a lot to consider. I have bullet pointed some topics that I would like to ask you if I was in your company, and if you would read them and respond, it would be much appreciated insight from someone with knowledge of the industry as a local Games Workshop manager. Okay, cool. So he says, first off, I'm married in my 30s with kids. We are financially secure at the moment. Excellent, good to hear. And in a good position to get started. I have owned 2 businesses in the past, which I have now sold, and I am now employed. Okay, cool. So, I'm going to answer some of these questions that he has here, because he has actually bullet pointed a few questions. My first thing, though, for your first question was the most pertinent one, and that's, should you invest in this guy's business, or should you go on your own? The answer to that is very much circumstantial to you. Do you believe in this guy's... I'm going to say what I would do. If I was in your position and I had the money to go on my own, I would go on my own. Mainly because I don't want to have to rely on anybody to pull in people to my gaming store apart from me. It's my money at the end of the day going into the business, and I want to be held responsible for that money. The minute you bring in people, it doesn't sound like you know this other guy as well. It looks like you've seen what he does. what I would do if you're interested in making sure that he's, in maybe being a partner with him, is watching what he does and being honest with him, saying, look, I've got money to invest into a business and I want to see how you work. Would you be interested in something like that? And if you guys hit it off and it goes well, then maybe revisit this. But for now, if it was me, it is a risky venture. I'd want to do it myself, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to be beholden to anybody. So he says, what lines would you stock? Well, that's very obvious. Games Workshop. I don't care what people say. Do not listen. And I know I'm going to get hate for this, but I don't care. This is your money. And do not listen to neckbeards. Do not listen when they tell you to fill your shop with Malifaux and all these other games. Have them in your store. Sure, have them in your store. And support them in your store. Make sure that you're pushing them. No problem. Because at the end of the day, you're still selling product. And that's great. But those things don't sell compared to Games Workshop. They don't. And anyone who tells you they do is lying to you. They just don't. Right? The Games Workshop do look at their competition. And we did talk about the competition. But here's the thing. They were looked at other people in the hobby space, but Games Workshop never, ever, ever termed them as competition. Because they're not. It's kind of like, remember back in the day when WWE was, the wrestling company was doing really well, and they still are really, they're making money hand over fist, but they would look at a company called TNA, which was another wrestling company in the US, and they never discussed TNA at all, because they were like, yeah, they're not competition. We're in the same industry, but they're not competition, right? And that's exactly the same way that Games Workshop treats everybody else in the tabletop gaming sphere in terms of wargaming. You're not competition, right? You may be in the same space, but you're not competition. That's just not who you are. So I would stock Warhammer. I would ensure, if you want to stock Games Workshop, that you go and you get yourself a nice licensing deal from them. The best way to do that is to make sure that you're pushing the core box sets and you're bringing new people into the hobby. That's the best way to impress on them and get a pretty decent rate from them when it comes to buying their stock and getting it in your store. As you're getting a store off the ground, if you want to be a wargaming place or a space, about 60 to 70% of your stock front and center needs to be Games Workshop. You need to get money through the till. Best way to do that is to sell Games Workshop stock at 20% off of the discount price. That's the best way to do it. And people will come in. After that, it's up to you to get people to come in and buy from you rather than going anywhere else. Which shouldn't be hard to do, considering you sell Games Workshop stuff at 20% off the retail market value. So, your second question is, what would you expect to generate the most sales? Again, Games Workshop products. I would say, in terms of, again, this is not going to, people are going to hate me for saying this, Space Marines. They simply sell the most of any Games Workshop stock that comes out. They sell the most of Space Marines. That's exactly what sells. And again, I'm fully aware that people, maybe in the comments, maybe elsewhere, are going to be rending their garments and saying, nothing's ever going to change if you say this. That's not the point we're getting at, guys. We're trying to keep this roof over this guy's head, making sure that his business is successful. And if you want to bring in Malifaux and War Machine and things like that later on, once you're already successful, that's the time to do it. Starting out your business by saying, hey, do you guys want to buy Malifaux, or do you guys want to buy this or that? People are going to look at you like you've just grown another head. Like, what? What is that? Right? Sell your Games Workshop products. Get those out the door first. Make sure you're paying your rent on your store. Make sure you're making money hand over fist in the store. Then start adding other things. Star Wars Legion is one of my favourite games. Tabletop games, right? Then make sure you're adding more things later on. Okay? Rather than starting out that way. Do suppliers such as Games Workshop offer lines of credit to get products into independent stores? No. So, what Games Workshop will do, they will offer you they will have you make a pitch to them. This is basically how it worked when I was there. They would have you make a pitch to them and what your company is going to be doing, how they're going to be selling and things like that. And they will then offer you a rate of how you buy your product in bulk from Games Workshop. And they will then send it round to your store. The unfortunate thing is that they don't always get the order right, and you are basically treated as second-class citizens, essentially. One good place to come and ask a lot of these questions, actually, is the Composite Games part of our Discord. A lot of these more in-depth questions are good, because things might have changed since my time, and they are dealing with Games Workshop on a daily basis, so maybe come in and so I'm going to skip a load of these questions that I can't really answer. So, do Games Workshop limit or force friendly local game stores to stock certain items? Yes and no. Yes and no. So, put it this way, they don't put a hard limit, at least when I was there, on what you could and couldn't sell. If you thought you could sell something, you could get it, you could order it. At the end of the day, you're ordering it, you're paying for it from Games Workshop, and then you're selling it on, essentially. So they don't really care either way. The main thing you need to look at is what your relationship with Games Workshop is going to be going forward. If you're the kind of person who goes in there and wants to get Necrons in because you like Necrons, you want to push Necrons, your business isn't going to last very long. Or at least your business with the Games Workshop isn't going to last very long. If you're the kind of person who wants to grow the hobby and you go in and you want to pull more people into the hobby with really cool starter box sets, yeah, Games Workshop are going to want to do business with you. Okay? Right. So, just think on that one. In-store airbrush booth hire. I don't know what you mean by that. You have to explain what you mean by that. A realistic take-home pay. So I'm not going to get into that either, because that relies on you and how you run your business. I would say, if you have capital and you're looking to start up a hobby store, for the first year, maybe 2, I would say you're going to make very little money. That's just the reality of most businesses, to be honest with you, especially retail businesses. Until you get yourself up and running. The best way to find money is to find a niche. What this other store that you've mentioned has done is that he's created a gaming space and he's realised what he wants to charge and how he wants to make money, and he's doing it that way. And what you've very cleverly done is you've seen the weaknesses in his approach, but what you have failed to take into account, maybe that's the approach that makes it special for him. Maybe him running a gaming space that also sells hobby stuff is important to him, to the point that it would ruin the hobby for him to do it any other way. Do you know what I mean? So you need to be very, very, very careful in approaching people like that, and because that might be their dream to run their business that way. And for you, I would say, be very careful getting into business for yourself and doing a hobby store. I would only ever do such a thing if you had a real plan on how to move forwards with your hobby store and how to get it, get it sorted. Pre-orders from Games Workshop, yeah, you do get them. You get stuff that's coming out. They'll send it to you. In general, but there are people at Games Workshop, I'm not sure whether Composite are in touch with them, but there are people at Games Workshop that are really good to know, and that they can tell you what's coming up, and they can tell you, where you can, on what dates you can buy them, and what dates you can get them in your store for, and they'll generally make sure that you can get it there and then. Always treat the people at Games Workshop in the office with the utmost courtesy and respect. If you do that, you're going to be like their little pet, and they will start being like, ooh, this thing's coming out, did you know that? And you'll be like, no. Well, would you like it? Like, I could put it aside for you. I'll put aside 10 copies of it for you, right? And you would get little phone calls like that. That used to happen quite often to the guy who was nearby me. He was quite a nice guy, actually, most of the time, who ran the local friendly game store near me. So, yeah, he would get stuff like that all the time. Like, I'd come in and say, well, I've just got this thing that's coming out. And he'd be like, yeah, it's been here for like 2 weeks. Like, oh, okay. And I'm a Games Workshop store. So, definitely cultivate that relationship with Games Workshop if you can. I'm not going to answer any more of these questions because there are a lot of them, and most of them are very technical and won't make for a good video. But what I would do is I would go to the Composite Games part of the Discord, and I would copy and paste some of these questions, and they'll be able to get you some answers because they actually deal with Games Workshop on a daily basis, and I don't. But one bit that I wanted to touch on that you've said is that you say, playing music in the store and controlling the stench of war is a big topic. Mums that enter are not staying if BO is the scent of the day. Would a deodorization station be out of order? I joke, but you get where I'm coming from. So, a deodorization station. I mean, you can tell that you've been in business for a while because you know how to market things. You have to be very careful, again, how you approach this thing. I would always approach it in a guise of, if I'm running a business and you stink and you're in my business, I don't look at that as there isn't much excuse in the 21st century. You need to be getting a shower every single day. And if you're homeless, then, you know, you need to let me know that. You know, like if you're coming in. I had people who were you know, pretty hard on luck and couldn't really get a shower. They would come in and they would like say, hey man, I hope you don't mind if I hang around in here. Like I've got, you know, this and that going on, but you know, I'd like to just look at the models. And I'd say, yeah, fine. And I don't care if that person stinks very much because he's a bum. What are you going to do, right? Whereas with normal hobbyists coming into the store, I will be honest, I had a zero tolerance policy most of the time on people not having good cleanliness in the store because I'm running a business at the end of the day. I would pull people aside and very calmly and respectfully say, hey man, I don't know whether you've been to the gym or something, but like there's a bit of a, you know, bit of a smell. I use this, and I would always have on hand some links or something. Say, hey, chuck some of that on. I went to the gym this morning. I had to use it too. Just letting you know, because, you know. And most of the time, people would be very, okay, yeah, cheers, man, thank you. And they'd put it on, right? And there'd be some times when they wouldn't. They'd get pretty annoyed with me. Those people could go fuck off, because at the end of the day, I'm running a store, and I don't want your smelly ass turning people off for coming to my store. Grow up, get a shower, go groom yourself. Like there's no, you know. So a deodorization station, no, that's a bit too much. I know that's a bit of a joke, but you never know. That's a bit too much in the store. What I would do is I would make sure there's always aerosol on hand. There's something on hand for the people to sort themselves out with, and that's it. Just make sure that you got standards and you let people know what those standards are essentially when you're in the store. So, thanks, Tom. And yeah, make sure you go to Composite Games and you ask them some more questions. So, Credux says, hey Lord Northern, I hope this is the correct way to send a Hobby Nightmare story. It certainly is. This is a D&D story from the late 1980s to 1990s and subverting conservative adults' rules. Okay? So, for those of you who don't know, and this is me talking now, back in the day, there was a satanic panic and all sorts of things going on with D&D, and nowadays the left has sort of taken over the conservative role, but conservative culture at that time was very prevalent and powerful, and it infested all sorts of things where people just wanted to have fun, and it kind of ruined the fun, and it kind of ruined people's enjoyment of the 80s, because the 80s was supposed to be this like wonderful time, and in America at least, you know, the zeitgeist wasn't quite as powerful. Like the American zeitgeist these days is huge because of the internet. But back then, you know, you could keep the satanic panic and all these weird conservative groups over there in America. We had our own problems with Thatcherism and things like that in the UK, but it was very much more poverty-stricken than it was, you know, oh my God, protect the children and things like that, you know. Censorship, things like that. The left has pretty much taken that over these days, and that's where we are right now. And that, you know, we have leftist weirdos trying to, you know, just censor everything and take the fun out of everything. But then again, we also have, it's also led to an emergence of right-wing weirdos who want to come in and say that everything is a feminist commentary, when, you know, it's not. You know? Yeah, they're both as bad as each other, man. Just get them both in the sea. Get them both in the fucking sea. Honest to God. Literally. Anyway. So, Quedrock says, I was a Boy Scout. Oh, I don't know where this story's going. I'm going to like this story. And was at a sleepaway camp, oh my God, for 2 weeks with my scout troop. Even though this was pre-cell phones, electronics were still banned. No Walkmans, video games, etc. Oh, dude, if you get touched inappropriately, I don't know whether I want to read this out. As with any time when a group of young boys are thrown together, no, we developed into massive nerddom of talking about which Marvel superhero could beat Batman. Okay. If Mega Man 2 was better than Super Mario 3, and which was really, and who was really touched a boob or not. Oh God. Camp. I thought this story was going in a completely different direction, so thank you for not going there. Camp began on Sunday, and by Tuesday we were all bored. So a kid named Ty said we should play this game his older brother plays, Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. How could we say no? Dragons is right there in the title. After some blind groping in the dark... Dude, are you sure nothing happened that you're subliminally putting into this story? And after some blind groping in the dark, when it came to the actual rules, we sort of had characters drafted up, a system to replicate a D20 using playing cards, and makeshift graph paper. Okay. The first night was awesome. Ty did a great job of weaving Legend of Zelda references with juvenile potty humour. Word spread to other scouts in the troop. A Wednesday night session had twice as many people playing. Things got loud and rowdy, and everybody was having a great time. Then, Thursday night came. As we gathered near Ty's tent to pick up where we left off, the Scoutmaster appears. The Scoutmaster. The Scoutmaster. Come on, dude, that's not a name. Scoutmaster. Oh, Jesus. He was a baby boomer, chemical engineer, and church elder. Oh, God. In other words, the stick was so far up his ass, he couldn't wear hats. For the love of God, his real name was Smedley. I don't know why that tickled me so much. I don't know why that tickled me so much. The next line starts with... The next line starts with... Mr. Smedley told us that D&D is banned from the Boy Scouts, and that we are not allowed to play it at camp. He then went on to lecture us for 30 minutes that Boy Scouts are supposed to be moral and believers in God, and how D&D is an anathema to those values. He ended the lecture, let's be honest, the sermon, by letting us know anyone caught playing D&D will be sent home. After the Scoutmaster left to go pray to his picture of Ronald Reagan, the safe bet, we all began to complain about how unfair it was, the stupidity of it all, and how Mr. Smedley could get fucked. Then, one by one, we dispersed to go find a stick or something to entertain ourselves with. All except Ty. He looked utterly defeated. He went into his tent, zipped up the flaps, and remained there until the next day. Oh, Jesus. I hope this doesn't go into a dark place. Friday night came, and again, Ty did not really hang out with anyone, and simply went into his tent after dinner. I felt bad. He obviously put a lot of work into the game, and I believe he was enjoying it the most. Then on Saturday after dinner, Ty asked a few of us to come to his tent. We piled in, and he handed us all sheets of paper. At the top, the words crosses and crucifixes were written. On my sheet, Ty had written character name, Haran, brother of Abraham, father of Lot. Under that, the word tribe elder was written. Ty had made a reskinned Dungeons and Dragons, using biblical names and stories. Our first quest, a priest tasked us with finding the lost son of Amram, a child named Moses. So me, Abel, and his brother Cain, Shem, son of Noah, and Ishmael, son of Abraham, set out to Egypt to go fuck up some pharaohs. We played as late as we could that night and vowed to keep the game a secret. For the next few nights, our Bible D&D game raged on until Wednesday, 11 days into camp with only 3 days left. That day after lunch, I was summoned to go to the circle of tents where the adults of the troop were staying. As I approached, I saw many mustachioed middle-aged men with bad haircuts and sour faces looking at me. The Scoutmaster stood up and as I arrived and said something to the effect of, "We need to talk about something gravely serious." Now I was no saint in Boy Scouts, so I damn near shit my pants trying to figure out which scheme of mine they had found out about. I may have only been 11 or 12 years old, but I had distributed more pornography, aka underwear ads and JCPenney catalogues, than Hugh Hefner. Good lad. Good lad. Mr. Smedley. Mr. Smedley then went on another rant about morality and the Boy Scout ethos. I was still in a fugue, wondering how much lying I was going to have to do in a moment when he wrapped it up. Then the Scoutmaster ended by asking me, "Are you one of the people still playing that demonic game?" Quite frankly, my only reaction was to smirk. For the first time in a long time, I could look at my Scoutmaster and honestly tell him, no. After all, just the previous night I'd helped to overthrow Nebuchadnezzar, the evil king of Babylon, and set free the Jewish slaves. Countless moustached lips drooped into frowns at my answer. Mr. Smedley shook his head, said something to the effect of, "Boy Scouts are to be honest." And again, I smirked and said, "I'm telling you the truth. I'm not playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore." Mr. Smedley then told me to sit on a nearby log and wait. The council of facial hair and male pattern baldness then talked to themselves for a bit. Then one made a dad noise by standing up and waddled away towards the rest of the camp. After a bit, he and Ty came to the area. In the adult's hand was Ty's notebook and some other book, Ty's Bible, that he was using as a dungeon master's guide. I could not hear what was going on, but from contextual clues, Mr. Smedley was looking over Ty's notebook and asking him questions about it. Mr. Smedley did not appear to like any of Ty's answers, and the gloomy expression on the adults' faces remained. Then, Mr. Smedley pointed to another nearby log, and Ty walked over to it and sat down. Over the next hour, the Camp Crusaders, oh my god, as we had called ourselves, this is too Stranger Things for me, this is ridiculous, were marched into the circle of middle-aged mediocrity, and one by one the Crusaders were made to sit apart on logs from the others. More hushed and concerned conversations happened among the adults as the afternoon wore on. Then Mr. Smedley called out loudly to all Crusaders to come join them. We were then treated to a lecture about how the rules were to be followed and not subverted. Mr. Smedley proceeded to do the most diabolical thing ever. He took each of our character sheets and said, "It's clear that all of you need refreshing on the Old Testament. There was no way Cain or Abel would have helped Noah gather up animals for the ark," clearly a reference to our previous night's quest. As a result, each of us was to spend the rest of the camp night writing a report on the correct history of our characters, the moral of their stories, and how they influenced other parts and people of the Bible. At the time, it was pure bullshit. I had to spend the next 4 nights doing Bible homework at camp. Yet, looking back, that was the perfect punishment for a bunch of tween rule benders. Also, I genuinely believe it took any heat out of any of my other side hustles for camp. Renting out my Game Boy in exchange for candy, etc. Cheers, dude. That was a really cool story. I really love that one. That's really cool. Sorry that Mr. Smedley name broke me. I just don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, Natner is back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final story, and he says, "Hi, Exile. A few more stories for you. When my friend Jono was still a manager at my main store, he was the abusive manager who I had the less than enjoyable experience having fired. He wanted to showcase the awesome power of water effects. To do this, he built an entire board based around a Chaos Temple, complete with a blood well. Jono mixed a vat of red paint and the water effects. The plan was to dump it into the blood well and have an awesome realistic sacrificial well. However, things did not go that so great. Jono failed to seal the well properly, so he poured the mixture exploded out of the well. It exploded out of the well and just spilled all over the table. A giant red lake. This might have been okay, except that it never really dried. I mean, like, ever. I don't know what exactly he did to make it not dry, but for months we had the table covered with a massive blob of red jelly. We constantly filed complaints from gamers who had models or dice stuck to it in this crimson landfill. When we moved to a one-man team store, they asked me what the tables I wanted to bring, and I said, anyone but the sticky red one. Alright. One particular Saturday at my little store, I had made the great decision to drink heavily the night before. Oh god, yeah, don't do that when you work in the Games Workshop, it's horrible. Waking up that morning, I stumbled to the store and opened up. I was halfway dead, and part of my pounding head was praying I would die. The day went by fairly well. Other hobbyists giving me a knowing smile or some sympathetic chit-chat. Most of the younger customers just thought I was a little under the weather. One of the younger gamers was always super loud and excitable. Oh no, not when you're hungover, man. No. A big kid who adored his orcs probably more than his own family. Yeah, that's orc players for you. I was doing something in the store, I can't remember what, when the kid explodes into a super loud cheer, or wah, I can't remember which. All I do remember was that it was right next to my ear. That pounding headache made it feel like an elephant stepped on my brain, and I think my eyes watered up in pain. I actually kicked him out of the store in that moment. Wow. I actually kicked him out of the store in that moment. Not a permanent thing, mind you, but a kind of, I can't have you around me for a few minutes while my body processes everything and my rage subsides. Probably not my proudest moment. Fun fact about that day, I remember my sales were above average to the point that I joked I should just be hungover from then on in. That happened to me a lot as well. On days when I was ill, I would have explosively good days. It's incredible, yeah. It is weird how that works out. Yeah, but don't send a kid out for liking orcs and shouting wah. What a party pooper. Oh, I get what you mean though. I get what you mean. Like you just crack and you can't do it anymore. But those are the hobby nightmares for today. I'm gonna leave before I start laughing at that name again. So I'm gonna be back tomorrow with another one of my own stories. I love you all a long time. Have a really good day. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. Oh, there'll be more Dragon Age tonight, by the way. So enjoy that. For all two of you who watch it, I really like making them. And I'll speak to you tomorrow for more Games Workshop stories from me. See you then. Have a good one.